Welcome back to the Whiskey and Wisdom podcast. I'm your constant co-host, Chris Kellum, and I'm with
Tyler Y'all.
And after clearing a few NDAs and talking to a few cool people in town, we have our special guest, Miss Bree.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been a long time coming. Yeah. I think we first got in contact 6 or 7 months ago trying to get this in the works. So I'm happy to be here with you guys.
I mean, the lawyers get in the way sometimes.
Those NDAs be tight.
Yes.
You really got to do what you can.
And then we got freaked out by a random tropical storm, and then that just never panned out. And I'm it ended up being a beautiful day, but it's fine. It's Wilmington.
Wilmington summertime. Yeah, hurricane to sun in 2.5 seconds.
Right. Yeah, and you're busy, just acting, traveling, doing all the good stuff.
Life has been busy. Life is great. Life is good right now.
I love that. So question, because I'm going to butcher it. How do you say your last name?
Bree Okamoto. Okay. Yes, it's Japanese.
Okay. The way you said Okamoto, I was like, yeah, that's Japanese.
I know. Brianna Hide Okamoto. As I say it, very Asian.
I love that.
You did very well, though.
Thank you. I know. I'm actually 4th generation Japanese, so I did not grow up speaking it in my household, but raised with a lot of the culture. A lot of every Sunday was a sushi night at my house by my dad. So
I wouldn't mind that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great way to grow up.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh yeah, eating 40 pieces of sashimi on a Sunday night is totally fine and chill.
Right.
So before we get into the whiskey, I have to ask, what's your favorite sushi joint?
Ooh, in town?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, even though I didn't have, Tokyo 101. I will say Tokyo 101. I will say I worked there for a week and quit and cried and left, but I still go back and get the food. It's still really good sushi. So
Nice.
Wasn't a great place for me to work, but I still stand by their sushi. When I was working there at the time, they had tunas in the back that they were slicing the heads off of, and actually very fresh tuna, which is the most important.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Everyone always thinks down on Tokyo 101 for some reason, but I still stand by it too for 2 reasons. One, because the sushi's really good, and 2, everyone goes to the other place in town, and sometimes I don't want to talk to people. And everyone knows me when I go there.
Yeah, so when you go downtown, it's a to be seen kind of night, definitely.
See, my wife works on this side of town, and we don't want to see anybody she works with. So we'll always go to the Point and go to Nori.
And
I'm
I haven't been there either.
I just like it because it's a vibe, and I can go watch a movie afterwards, similar to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. But there's more natural lighting, and it makes me feel like, oh, this isn't a dive bar.
Yeah.
That's what gets me out of Tokyo. The food's great, but it is so dark.
In there.
I'm are we hiding something?
Yeah, we're hiding the secret good food, guys. Secret recipe. Don't let them know.
So the secret recipe to a great episode is some whiskey.
Right here.
Bree is trying the High West Rendezvous, which we had on our last episode. Got it for Tyler because he's a rye fan.
I am.
He said it's, what did you say, top favorites?
Yeah, it's definitely on top favorite of the ryes for sure. It's not as spicy as what some ryes are, so it's a good blend, which is nice. And I'm just a big High West fan. Almost everything that they come out with, I'm a big fan of. So High West and rye, it's the way to go.
I don't like rye at all, and this is drinkable for me.
I'm excited to try it. I do love a little sip of whiskey every now and then. And I was telling the guys I do not normally drink because as an actor, our skin and not aging is the most important thing I can do right now. But I do like a little sip of whiskey every now and then.
Of course. And then she's also going to try with me the 6 and 20 Carolina Cream. Very controversial name because it is made in South Carolina.
Oh, there.
And not even the thought in your head was
the
like,
thought of South Carolina being called Carolina. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they were allowed to do that.
See,
we're glad you said that.
See, that's the question. So we'll let you try.
Okay, I'm gonna go with our rye first.
Okay. So this one is a little bit spicy. Has some cinnamon. Has some cherry. Apparently, there's some plum notes on the nose.
That's really nice. Very, very smooth. I do like the spice of it, too. I feel that cherry in there. At first, it was very, very sweet. And then it kind of does warm up to that nice spiciness. I like that. I'm going to give that one 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Nice, very good.
Does this give you like sitting around a campfire vibe?
This is better than sitting around a campfire vibes. I think this is a little bit better than the wild turkey handle that I might be sipping around a campfire. So, this is elevated.
Okay. This is like sitting in a yurt.
Yeah, this is giving, after a long day of shooting on set, a little closer with some good friends and some crew. That might be the time I sip some whiskey.
I like that one. And then for me, I'm going to cheers it up with this one.
Cheers.
I'll get you.
Thank you, sir.
I just really like the Carolina cream.
So many comments to that one.
I know.
Ooh, very like vanilla-y in
Yeah,
there.
it's like melted ice cream.
It does taste exactly like melted ice cream. That's a great way of putting it. All right, I'll give this one 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's just very different. So, like, if you're expecting whiskey, this probably isn't the first thing that you think of. But it's different. It's fun. To add this to coffee, I think, would be very nice.
I think this with coffee or this over some ice cream or something. Used to do.
So this one, I don't know if we broke it down previously. So it's a blend of the 5-grain bourbon with natural cream, rum, and several spices. So that's why
It's giving eggnog.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's definitely vanilla, cream, and cocoa notes.
That's perfect.
Different. Yeah. So I'll be sipping on this for a little while. While you tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little about Bree. Let's see. I grew up in Raleigh.
Okay.
I was raised by 2 wonderful, artistic, musical parents in the whole wide world. My father is the world's fastest drummer on record. It's insane.
That's incredible.
He has been touring around being the world's fastest drummer since I was like 10 years old. So my whole life I grew up with a rock star father and somebody who was the best in the world at something. So the pressure was on. And then my mom plays every single instrument on the planet. She is the most musical genius ever. She is in 2 rock bands currently, an all-girls rock band that she started, and then a rock band with a bunch of guys where they do a bunch of covers and Rolling Stones and stuff like that. My mom is also a musical theater director, so we were raised homeschooled, me and my sister, so every moment of our lives was consumed with Christian musical theater or music or just being the nerdiest, dorkiest homeschool kids on the block and running around the woods.
What's Christian musical theater?
Yeah, so my mom wrote all Christian musical theater. So imagine like the productions that they do at mega churches.
Okay.
The vacation Bible schools, the skits and plays and songs that she would do. She would write original ones, and we did go to a mega church growing up. So, I was thrown on stage probably at like 3 or 4, expected to sing and dance and act. And I loved it. I thought it was the most normal thing in the world to, be running around church, 3 or 4 times a week and be singing and dancing and praising Jesus and,
That's
acting on stage. So that's really where I got my kind of acting start is, in my DNA. I was really born with it. And me and my sister were homeschooled together until I went to high school. So all of our time was just free time to consume the arts and really just dive into our passions, which was such an incredible childhood. At the time, I thought I was being cheated out. I thought it was torture. I would sit at the window and watch the school bus drive by every day and cry. I'd be like, Mommy, please, I just want to ride the school bus. And she'd be like, no, you're staying home. And, but now.
Little did you know that was the dungeon.
Yes.
Little did I know that they were saving me from something, very, very, very different. So, we grew up just a lot of time together, a lot of time working on music and dancing and things like that.
Yeah.
What instruments do you play then?
So that's the saddest part, is that both of my parents are musical geniuses, but the stress and the pressure, like when your dad's the world's fastest drummer, what are you going to be, the world's second, fastest.
You could play the recorder.
I could have played the recorder so fast, but there was always so much pressure on us to instantly. I remember my first drum lesson I ever went to. Sorry, Dad, but I didn't know how to read music yet, and he just assumed that I should know how to read music as a 4 or 5-year-old. And I can just remember, my dad's taught hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And then 5 minutes with me, he throws the sticks and storms out, and I'm crying in there. And he's like, all right, we're not doing this again. So my parents always, even though they were the best teachers in the world, they were very unteachable to their own children. They found that very difficult. So we really pushed it away. I did grow up playing piano, but I didn't do it because I wanted to. And so me and my sister both went really heavy into dance and acting, and that was more of our joy in life to do. So now I can play a little ukulele and guitar. I can read chords. I can still read music. So if I sit down at the piano, I can struggle it out for a little while. But unfortunately, I did not get the musical genes that my parents did, but we got the acting chops instead. So one of the two.
I've actually heard that a lot. So a lot of the kids to parents who are very musically inclined, they begrudgingly took up piano typically. And they're like, my parents just do so well. And actually one of my best friends, his mom was an incredible pianist, and then his dad was an incredible drummer. And he was like, I don't really want to be involved in any of these things. And he had to go through piano at the very least through the rest of his childhood. But at the end of it, he was like, that was great and all, and I'm glad you guys do very well, but it's not for me.
Yeah, a piano is a certain kind of torture as a child. Your fingers are just too little; they're not strong enough. So, but it's just a process. Mature through it. You got to struggle to sometimes as a kid figure it out. But yeah, the pressure was just way too high in my household to do anything musically.
What brought you down to Wilmington then?
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I applied to UNCW, but I didn't get in. And I really didn't apply to a lot of other places. I thought I wanted to go to Wilmington. This is kind of where my track was. But so I went to a very small private college called Barton College, which is out in Wilson. So I spent 1 year there. And I think it was the first week of school I applied to transfer to UNCW. It was almost immediately I walked in there. It was just a hard culture shock. I'd gone from growing up in Raleigh, super diverse, super huge. I went to a school with over 2,000 kids in it. And then I go to college and it's smaller than my high school. And, it's very country. It's, not very diverse. It's kind of everything I didn't grow up kind of used to. And so I was like, I can't be here. I can't get sucked into Wilson, North Carolina. And I applied and thankfully, got into UNCW the next year, and I moved down here. And originally I was planning on going to school for athletic training.
Oh, okay.
And I actually stayed until I was a junior is when I changed my major. And I loved athletic training. I did it all through high school. I loved sports and that kind of camaraderie and that family vibe you get when you work so closely with a team. But athletic training didn't love me as much as I loved it. And I had a real trouble with the athletic trainers seeing me for my intelligence and not the way I looked. And I remember I was, I was very, very smart in what I was doing. I took it very, very professionally. But I remember one of the coaches, one of the assistant baseball coaches had requested, he was like, when can we have Bree doing athletic training for us? And the athletic trainer at the time said, that will never happen. She will never work on baseball because she's a distraction and seen as a distraction. And so once I heard that and it had gotten back to me and it had told me, I was just like, ooh, so no matter, this is going to be something I have to overcome constantly is this thing, I am girly. Do you like to wear makeup? I had all these things. I'm not the typical athlete look. And so I really realized that I was like, man, I don't know if I want to struggle with this stigma this whole life that, you know, beauty or attractive women cannot be around athletes. And I do understand the correlation. You know, they want them to focus 100% on their sport and not have anything to distract them. And, you know, athletics is money. You know, it's a business at the end of the day.
Can't have the guys pretend to be injured.
Exactly. Exactly. We can't fake a pulled muscle. So I really realized that. But additionally, I took a step back and I looked at these athletic trainers' lives. And I said, would I trade places with them? They are working in a career field where they are always 1 degree of separation. They can never be that close with the athletes because they're the medical team. And so I kind of watched these athletic trainers devote their entire days, no free time, every weekend traveling with the team, but they aren't a part of the team, but they aren't allowed to be friends with the athletes.
Right.
And that was a big thing. You weren't allowed to date athletes. You weren't allowed to be friends with athletes. If you were in a restaurant or a bar and the athletic team walked in, you were expected to get up and leave, to not cross any kind of paths whatsoever. Wow. And I really was like, wow, that's not the kind of relationships in life I want to live. And so, you know, I was going into my junior year and I had to figure out what to change my major to. And film studies was another really good option. And it was something I had always been interested in, but never really saw as a true vision for myself. And I talked to my athletic trainer advisor and I told him, I'm switching majors. And he told me, this is the biggest mistake of your life. You're not going to make any money in film. What are you going to go do? And he was so aggressively telling me that this was the wrong move to make. And I was like, wow, that's actually pushing me to think that this is the right move. Like your anger towards like releasing that control over me to go do what I want to do is kind of the sign that I don't want to keep being under people like you's control over my career and what I do. And so my junior year, I switched my major and I pivoted to film studies, never expecting of becoming an actor, but just with dreams of producing and, you know, running the business side of it and really, you know, being that person in charge that can direct people and keep the ducks in a row and manage a budget and create a schedule and have this, you know, vision is really what I saw for myself instead.
That's neat.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
I have Chris questions now.
Right. Well, before you get into your Chris questions, I hear an echo and it's driving me nuts.
Okay, yes.
It only took him 18 minutes.
It's driving me crazy. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Oh my gosh, we can always pause for technical issues. I am a technical girly. Make sure that sound is the most important department.
The sound itself was fine. It was just me hearing it was bothering me.
Okay.
I couldn't tell if it was an echo or I was just hearing people over there.
Not voices inside your head.
Well, that happens all the time for him. So.
I don't really hear voices.
Do you have an inner dialogue?
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, I definitely have
I
that.
did meet somebody recently who didn't have an inner dialogue.
That's wild to me.
We were all talking about it. We're like, I want to meet someone. I want to meet someone. And he's like, wait, what's an inner dialogue? And we're like, oh, we found it.
Yes. Well, I talked to somebody the other day and they were like, I read a book and I can picture the whole entire scene, like a movie scene. And I'm like, this is how this is playing out. And I can draw something based on what I'm reading. And I talked to somebody else and they're like, I'm just reading the book.
Yeah, I wish.
My
mind's eye is pretty blank. Like I can't vividly see pictures. Like I can imagine a picture, but it's not in color 3D high def like for some people.
I'm sorry.
Do you get
I'm
that?
the same way. Yeah. I can't.
Well, let's see. So you got to be extra artistic then.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Right.
That's the thing. That's the problem is I'm not like super artistic. But like if someone's explaining, like my wife hates it. Well, she loves it sometimes, but hates it. Because like I'll try and figure out how to get to point A and point B. And I'll literally just look at a map in my head of like how to turn, where to turn. And like I see the trees and everything. And she's like, I'm lost on Apple Maps. I'm like, I'm lost with Apple Maps. It doesn't tell me exactly where to turn.
Oh.
But that's a whole nother question. So I do have two legitimate questions for you. Film studies is a broad thing. And Wilmington is one of the best schools for like film education. But you did mention going into like producing and like being behind the scenes. As a person who hates Google, and I just like to ask people to their face a lot of questions, what's a producer do?
Yeah, so a producer is basically in charge of where all the money goes. So a producer's job is securing that money, securing that funding, and then deciding how and what is the best use of that money. They are kind of like, the financial overseer of the film in a lot of ways, but they also are very deeply involved with making some of the most important decisions on set, where the film might be shot, who you're going to hire for each department. Those are kind of the things the producer decides. And then, there's so many, positions in between. There's a line producer, which is in charge of making the schedule. They take the script and break it down and say, okay, this scene at the beach, that beach location is going to cost $1,000 to rent that day. It says there's 50 people in the background, and they kind of go through and dissect every prop, every location, every costume, everything, and line it out and make a budget.
Okay.
So you could be that kind of a producer, and so there's a lot of niche producers, but kind of the overarching thing is, the big honcho, who's in charge, who the director ultimately has to conspire with and make happy.
Yeah, I always see executive producer, and I'm like, oh, there's one. Nope, there's 2, 3. I'm like, how do you have 5 people in charge of money, and then you have regular producers? So my brain just is.
Yeah, sometimes executive producer can be the overarching title, or it could be given, the title of producer is kind of flexible. Sometimes you give it to people just because you want to make them happy. Sometimes, there is somebody who was so crucial who introduced you to the head of your movie, who gave you the funding. And if they played a massive pivotal role in your film, you might credit them as producer or executive producer if they gave you all of the money for it, but then said, I don't have anything else to do with it. I don't know how to make a movie, but here's $5 million. They're the executive producer kind of thing.
There's, being in the finance world, there's a few different areas that you can get some very nice tax write-offs in the film area. And if you give the right amount of money, then you can also be like what you said, you can be the producer for that reason. So so
you see it a lot on like Kickstarters.
Right.
If you donate, if you're the top donator or whatever, they'll put your name in the credits and they will call you a producer. So it's a very literal role, and then it can also be a very figurative role as well.
Okay. That makes sense. I looked into this information while I was looking at your IMDb, trying to figure out this stuff, which leads me into acting. How did you transition? This is a multi-part question. How did you transition from film studies? Like, what got you into acting? Were you just like, hey, this background work is great, but I kind of want to get in front of it? Like, what drew you into it?
Yeah, so after I graduated college, I was very lucky to get a job as a production assistant on the TV show Good Behavior, which was filming in Wilmington at the time on TBS. And it was such a hard thing to get that connection. And I think when I graduated, I was the only kid who graduated from UNCW that got a production assistant role. So it was so sought after. It was so hard to get, but I had interned the summer before at Screen Gems. And I'm in the back of the lighting and grip office for that summer, and it is the dustiest, dirtiest office. We got Under the Dome is filming. So, I'm answering phone calls. I'm, counting extension cords and lights and doing all this. But I had my eye on the prize. I was like, this is great, but I want to be on set. I need to go meet the people who are running the set so they will see value of me. So something smart an idea I had at the time, I was like, I should interview the person I want to hire me. Very similar to a podcast. Right. If you interview the person that you have on a pedestal, you get one-on-one time with them. So at the time, I, asked around. I was like, who hires PAs? And they told me it was the second assistant director hires PAs. So I reached out to the second assistant director, and I, told him I wanted to interview him for, film studies, and he agreed, and we got to sit down for, 2 or 3 hours, and I got to hear his whole journey, and in turn, he heard mine as well. And when that time came around, I had reached out and emailed, trying to get on that job. And then, he ran into me and he was like, sorry, I have been ignoring your emails. But yes, we're going to get you on set and we're going to give you a job. So a couple months later, I started as an additional PA on Good Behavior, and it was a whirlwind. Like, it was the most exciting day of my life, walking onto a humongous production with 300 people on crew. And when you walk onto a film set, it is like a mix of the circus and the military had a child together. It is so chaotic, but behind the scenes, everything is ran to the T. Everybody has walkie-talkies and earphones, and there are 1,000 moving parts in the background at all times. And so I was in this production assistant role, and it was very unfulfilling. People were really mean to me. People were physically bullying me, threatening violence. They would tell us so many stories like, you're never allowed to sit down. You're never allowed to take a break. If you do, you'll be thrown off set. If you're a minute late, don't even bother showing up. Back in our days, we used to roll up production assistants in carpets and beat them up and put them in the back of trucks and drive. So you would walk in
so
there,
ridiculous.
and these men were telling me these horrible stories about what it was going to be like as a production assistant. But at the same time, I'm having so much fun. I'm loving it. And so there was this weird dichotomy where it's like a little bit abusive, but then they shower you with love and alcohol at the same time. So it was this really kind of toxic workplace environment that was building up. And I didn't think I was worth what those people were treating me about. I saw myself and respected myself more than what I was receiving. And so I was really trying to identify. Instead of being a production assistant or wanting to be an assistant director, I started looking at the other departments. I was like, who is living a good life? Who is respected here? And who I respected most on set were the actors. These were people who were working more hours than anybody on set, usually the first people in, one of the last to leave with the hair and makeup and the transportation team. But they were treating everybody so nice. Like, they were walking in with grace and with respect and love and doing this incredibly difficult job, but not acting the way the crew was.
Right.
And obviously, they're treated a lot better. Their job is really different than everybody else. But I was, I'd watched an incredible actress. Michelle Dockery was the #1 of our TV show. And every day she would come in there with so much grace and like elegance and just respect, and she would do these heavy hitting, the hardest scenes that I had watched somebody do, and she would do it in a second. The producers would walk up in the morning and hand her a completely different script and be like, oh, we're having some rewrites, some revisions, and within an hour she was on set performing those, and it was like blew my mind. I was like, how is she doing this? How can somebody be so fast, learn so much, and then deliver these like painstaking performances, while also in her personal life she was going through a huge tragedy of grief. And so it gave me so much respect for the actors, and I was just like, wow, like that's who I have on the pedestal, just because their work ethic was so amazing. And so I wrapped that show, started another show with Jessica Biel, who was the star of The Sinners, and the same thing, like I was just watching a woman who was the actor, but then she was also the executive producer of the show. So instead of me just seeing her as an actor, I also got to see her as that multifaceted businesswoman too. She was the first one there, the last one there. On top of it, she was a new mother. She had her son there. And so I was just so inspired by watching these actors work. And I remember looking over and, Jess needs to be at set in like 10 minutes and she's about to go murder somebody in this next scene. And she, tells us, just give me a couple minutes. Don't let somebody interrupt me. And I see her go into the corner and like get into character, and this darkness overcome her. Wow. And I was like, this is the hardest job I've ever seen anybody do. And that made me want to do it. I was like, that challenge, that like, there was something that like scared me about being an actor. I was like, I could never do that. But telling myself I could never do that made me want to experience that challenge too. And so, I had wanted to be an actor, but you got to have a lot of money to get into acting. I'll say it's not something you can do unless you have a nest egg. And I remember talking to an actor and they're like, yeah, you should get into it. You should get an agent. But you will have to, I had to drive to Asheville for an audition the other day and get a hotel for myself and pay for that and come back. And at the time I was driving a 96 Honda Accord. Ooh. Like I was working as a waitress and a PA. I didn't have money to drive to Asheville and put myself up in a hotel. So I was kind of bummed. I was like, this is a dream that I love and I want, but financially, my parents do not have a fortune to give me. We were raised on food stamps. I knew that the only person who was going to support me was myself. So I really had to put my dream of being in the film industry or being an actor on pause until I could be financially set up. So then I did the hard thing. I put my dream aside and I got a job at Spectrum Enterprise in sales. And it was the best thing I could have done at the time because I was a 22-year-old kid in 2016 making six figures. Like, it changed my life and my perspective completely about work and what it takes to be successful. And so I was working at this job for I think 2.5 years, and I was selling my soul. I felt like I was truly selling my soul to the devil. I was like, I'm having to go in this job and I have people's businesses on the line and we fail a lot of the time. Spectrum isn't perfect and I am having to sell this service and guarantee it. And then I'm having people call me in disaster moments because our network is down and their business is down. And I really just saw, a lot of people were just like, oh, just forget it. You're getting the paycheck, Brie. It doesn't matter. Just say what you got to say and get off the phone. But I personally couldn't do that. I'm a little bit empathetic. Like I, feel people's and businesses' pain, and I would take that on and, it would stress me out and I just couldn't sell myself. I remember I would have all this money and all of my friends were working as restaurants and in bartending, and I was the only one in this kind of financial moment. And I could just remember I would walk around the mall on the weekend and cry because I had all this money, but nothing I could buy would make me happy. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, it's time to put this Spectrum career to the side and go back and do what's fulfilling to you and do what you love instead.
That's really neat. The thing that's really interesting about the story starting in the film industry, right, is a lot of people that I hear, they see the person that's on stage, right? And they always want to be like, I want to make that kind of money. I want to have that fame. It doesn't sound like that was exactly the way that you saw the people on stage originally. And then just seeing like, you know what, that's the hardest job. That's what I want to go after. I want something that's challenging. I think that's something that makes you insanely unique compared to almost anyone else that goes into the business, at least from the side that I see anyway. Or maybe it's the people that just pretend to be the famous one, right? Versus the one that actually makes it. Yeah. So I think that's really interesting with your story.
Thank you. No, I remember somebody telling me very early on, they're like, Brie, is there anything else you want to do besides acting? And I was like, no, like this is really like, now that I realize I grew up doing this, like I've actually been preparing for this for my whole life. He was like, okay, because anything else will be easier for you. Acting is going to be the hardest path. Like any other thing could be. If there's anything else you want to do, like please go do it. But I was like, no, originally I didn't want to do acting because I thought that was the easy job. I thought it was relying on your looks. I had like all these kind of just stereotypes over actors. And then when I saw them in person, I was like, oh no, this is really hard. This is what I want to do. I do want to do the hardest job here. And so that kind of opened me up to it. And I reached out to my actor friend and I said, hey, I got the money in the savings account. I'm ready to make this chance on myself, to take this chance on myself. And so I quit my job at Spectrum and I had an appointment to go meet a talent agent, and I got signed without any experience, which is really weird to think about now that I've been in the industry for so long. And they took a chance on me, and I was like, I'm going full force into this. Like, this is going to be my life. And I really did treat it like a job from that day forward. I put all my eggs into that basket. And I remember my agent telling me, like, you didn't quit your job, right? Like you did. And I was like, oh no, it's fine. I also do like film editing and like some other stuff. It's okay. But truly from that day forward, I never went back and worked, a full-time job again. And from the day I got an agent until now, I've been working exclusively as an actor and model.
Wow.
Nice. So that leads into the amazing question. Yes, you guys, I do actually use Google. But if I have the source here, I can't trust Google's AI. So I asked the people because my brain was thinking along those lines. So how many acting gigs do you have to do so you can qualify for SAG?
Good question. So SAG eligibility is very important, but in the Southeast, it's not as important as you would think it is. In the Southeast, we're in a right to work state. So actually, SAG projects don't often come to North Carolina.
Oh, interesting.
So all productions have the option of being union or non-union in North Carolina as well as Georgia. A lot of them are going to choose non-union and not work with SAG because it's cheaper and easier and less hoops to jump through. And they know that down here there's also a lot of talent that isn't a part of SAG. I am SAG eligible, which means I have met the requirements to join SAG, and at any time I can pay the $3,000 or so dues to join. But I have chosen not to join SAG yet. And that is because since North Carolina is a right to work state, if I joined SAG right now, I would no longer be able to work in any of the commercials or independent films or, music videos or anything that wasn't through SAG. So until I move to a state like California or New York, I'll probably hold off on joining. But how you get into SAG is a whole beast. It is every actor's like bane of their existence. Like, how do I get into SAG? And the way I did it was, very unique. I don't know anyone else who has gone about it the way I did. In 2020, I was hired to be the stand-in on a show called Hightown, and I was standing in for the lead actress, Monica Raymond, who played Jackie Quinones on Hightown. We love her. She is incredible. So a role of a stand-in is you are there all day long with the actor. The actor goes in for rehearsal. The stand-ins go in and watch the rehearsal. The actors leave, go relax, sit down in their chairs, read their scripts. The stand-ins take their place while the crew lights. So a stand-in is basically the rehearsal stand-in for the crew. So I get to go in there with the camera guys. They're practicing their shots. I'm with sound, doing sound checks for them. The lighting guy is lighting me instead of the actor, and so everybody, all the crew gets 15, 20 minutes to kind of set the scene and practice with me. The best part of being a stand-in is that you are handed the script first thing in the morning. And so you don't have to read and memorize the lines, but just so you can understand what the scene is about.
Right. Yeah.
Bree, as a, eager young actress, I took that job as seriously as you could take anything. I would get there, an hour to 30 minutes before my call time, eat breakfast, get into costume, and then I would sit down and I would memorize the entire script. Every word that I had, I would speed memorize that. And then, I knew in 15 minutes I was going to go get called to perform it. And I would walk in being completely prepared, so the actor would leave, and then I would jump into character and I would do the full scene full out. And it was the most helpful, incredible thing for the camera guys. And, they weren't used to that, and they loved that. It was saving so much time. It was so much effort. The directors could have a vision. The actors could kind of watch and see what to do or what not to do based on, what I was doing. They're like, that looks weird. Don't do what Brie did. Or oh, that was actually a kind of good idea. I liked what she did. So, and I got to have this incredible relationship. It was just the most exclusive access, because in the morning I would get to walk in and listen to the private conversations of the director, the producer, the lead actors. And I would get to hear how Monica would workshop this scene. There's a trouble. There's something that doesn't quite make sense. And getting to listen to how they workshopped a scene, it was like full-time acting school every single day. And that's really how I treated it. And I just wanted to be the best I absolutely could at that job. And so I think maybe 4 or 5 episodes in, I'll never forget it. I, had this killer monologue, and I just like, performed it in front of the whole crew. And like, I just knew, I was like, that was pretty good. And then awesome. The executive producer walked up to me and she's like, Bree, we know what you're doing. We know you want to be an actor and we can see it. So we're going to write you into the script.
Nice. Oh, wow.
And I was like, you're going to write me into Hightown? And sure enough, they did. And they wrote, a very small, cute little, one line moment where I was a waitress and I just walk up, talk to them and then go. And I was like, this is it. This is my big break. I'm telling everybody that will listen, like, this is the most exciting thing that has ever happened to me. And then it's about maybe like a month before the episode is set to air. And the creator of the show emails me and she's like, Bree, we are so sorry to tell you this, but we have to cut 15 minutes off of the episode and your scene got cut.
Oh, no.
So you will not be in Hightown anymore. And I just remember crying my little eyes out. I just could not. I was like, I've told everybody I worked so hard. Like, why is this happening? And I had, called my other stand-in friend and he was like, you got a letter. The creator of the show personally reached out to you and told you and apologized and said she wanted to work with you again. Like, that is a gift. Like, that is uncalled of in the industry. Most people find out while they watch it on TV. So I was like, okay, you're right. This is a blessing in disguise. Like, this isn't the worst thing ever. This is actually really nice. Like, I still got my SAG eligibility. I'm, still in the credits, they still credited me, and I actually still earn residuals from the episode I was cut out of. So what I thought was the worst thing ever actually ended up being a great thing because they brought me back in season 3. First day on set, they said, Bree, we're gonna fix this. You're gonna be in Hightown. But that time, they had even more trust into me. So instead of just writing me into a random character, they were actually sending me auditions and real characters that were already in the show that I could audition for, which felt much more validating as an actor, that it wasn't just handed to me, that I did have to work on it and stuff. And so then I got my audition, and I had 2 auditions that they had given me. One was for a grieving mother who had her boyfriend had just died. She was now the caretaker of a son, and they were at her like a funeral scene. And I'm like, this is mine. I am going to be the most beautiful, crying, grieving bride you've ever seen. And I go in and I do this audition, and it's just tears. And I'm like, wow, they're going to love this. And then, I submit it. I'm like, waiting on set, hoping they're going to say something. And, my friend goes up and asks them, like, oh, what do you think of Bree's audition? Oh, we didn't even watch it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like, you're busy. It's fine. And then the next day, I get another audition from them for stripper number 1. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, wait, no. I was supposed to be this like beautiful scene of this crying, grieving girl, not stripper number 1.
But it's better than stripper number 6.
Stripper number 6. So I'm having a breakdown. I call my best friend. I'm like, I cannot have my introduction to the acting world as stripper number 1. Like, that's all they see me as. Like, I want to be seen as more than just like my looks or my body. And then we had a real conversation. I was on the phone. I was like, let me think about this. Every single actor on Hightown has a nudity scene. Everybody has an intimacy scene. Everybody is either a stripper, or if they're not a stripper, they're a murderer. Or if they're not a murderer, they're a drug addict. Or if they're not a drug addict, they're a dirty cop. So I was like, so what would be better? Like,
Good point.
And so I really thought about it. I was like, this character Riley, she's a stripper. Do I judge her as Riley for being Renee, a stripper? No, I respect her for that. Like, do I judge this person? I really just had to come to terms with the fact that just because they might be seen as a stripper or something on set, that doesn't change how you see the actor in real life. And I was like, I actually respect these people so much. So that made the decision so much easier, like rationalized it for me, that I was like, do you want to be an actor or not? Like, do you want this? And so, you know, I'm like, okay, you're going to do this. Like, you're going to be the most great, wonderful stripper you can be. But the scene had no stripping in it. You know, it was just a character in a strip club. So I'm like, you got this, girl. You can do this. Then it's the night before I'm set to go on. I'm so excited. And the intimacy coordinator calls me and she goes, Bree, we have a nudity clause to send you for your contract if you just don't mind signing that and sending it back to us. Nudity clause? Like, what? Because I'm going to see naked people? Because, like, there'll be naked people in the background? Like, she's like, no. Every stripper in Hightown is topless and wears a G-string.
You're like,
no, not this stripper, though. This one doesn't do that. Like, there could be one that doesn't, right, guys? And then I had the moment where I was like, are you going to take this opportunity or are you going to say no? Boundaries is a superpower. Yeah. Boundaries. I was like, no, Bree is worth more than being stripper number one and being naked for 1 second on screen. So I told her, I was like, let's renegotiate here. I will not do that because it was not told to me at the time of my audition. It was never informed to me that that was an option or a requirement of this. So I will not do that unless you guys write me in for 5 episodes and then we can have this conversation. I don't think she ever told the producers that, but they went back and they're like, yes, Bree can wear whatever she wants. It's fine. And so I go to my fitting, beautiful, gorgeous little bikini type outfits instead. Right. So I pick out my outfit, stunning, love it. They were so nice, but I was still stripper number one and I still had to do that. So it was the night before shooting and I was on set like a stand-in like always, and the executive producer is talking to me and I was like, hey Ellen, just wanted to ask real quick, is there any way we could change my name? And she was like, look, so she goes, why do you want to be called? And I was like, Breezy? She goes, I love it, sure, we'll write it in. And so in that moment she changed this as a script. Everybody on set, you know, all the new scripts get sent out.
Breezy.
Yeah, right. And so thankfully I get to be Breezy on Hightown, not stripper number one, which was very just validating of when you set a boundary and say no and ask for what you want and deserve, you can get it.
I'm glad you bring that up too, because that actually leads in kind of to a question that I wanted to ask you anyway. So I forget how I found you on Instagram, but I found you on Instagram it's probably through Angela. Anyway, I saw that you're in acting. We were going to do like a whole acting month. All actors have a lot of stuff that they have to deal with. So it wasn't just you, it was everyone. And we were like, okay, we'll go a different route with that. So I started following you on Instagram. Obviously find out that faith is a big portion of your life too. You go to church and I see everything that you post about that and whatnot. So a lot of people think like Hollywood, they're like, oh, the devil. Like, or not a lot, but a bunch of people think that. How do you kind of marry those two together with staying with your faith, but also getting into acting, knowing that there is some of those things behind the scenes?
Yeah, you know, it is faith and Hollywood are at conflict at all times. And it is really a struggle to kind of understand how I can live in such a sinful industry, we'll say, for better or less, but I really think like my purpose in the world is to spread God's light. Like it is to spread the message of Jesus Christ to this world. And like, I want to be an actor because I want to show people that it can be done a different way, that like you don't have to feed the beast to reap the rewards, that you can like serve and live for God in a higher power and be so much more blessed and so much more internally filled. My pastor today was telling us that, you know, through psychology, what it teaches you is that attention is the most powerful resource on the planet, that everybody is just fighting for attention. And the easiest form of attention to get is negative attention. And so I really want to counteract that. You know, I really want to inject myself into the sinful industry because I know I have God on my side. Like, I know I was raised with him, and like my boundaries are stronger than the devil's temptations. I pray and that continues. And so I really see that I need to be in this industry. Like, I need to be showing people that there's a different way. I need to be encouraging people to, believe in God. And I hope that people will see like the brightness and light and positivity that I bring and the professionalism that I bring and ask me, what is different? And so I can then share with them that the difference in my life has always been that like I have a best friend that is the controller of the world who loves me more than anyone else on this planet could possibly do. Like, my confidence in God is so strong that like I know I can be thrown to the lion's den, and that he's going to guide me through it. He's not going to not let bad situations or sin or pain or suffering happen to me. That's a part of the world. But with him, I can get through it and get out on the other side stronger and have positive outcomes come from those bad moments. So, it is something I think about a lot. Like, I am a little bit scared to move to LA because I've always been scared of having that intense pressure and that kind of people seeing me and wanting to take something from me. And so I always, had decided to myself that I wouldn't move unless I had been called there and that I was set up. I wouldn't go seeking something. Like, I had to find it here and then elevate to that one, but I couldn't go to LA seeking fame or seeking attention or seeking money even, that I needed to like do my career for myself, and that I know if I work on my soil, God is in charge of the growth. Right. So he's in charge of my growth and my success, and I'm really just in charge of developing my relationship with him and being, the steward of the world instead.
That's amazing. And I think you did a really good job of kind of explaining how those small steps of faith that you've taken just in Hightown, right? That anyone else just have been like, yeah, sure, whatever. You send me that contract, like, I want to be famous. That's it. Let's go. So I think you're already making those right steps. So that's really good.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
So question, in general, you got a lot going on because besides acting, you coach also, but I feel like that's a whole nother episode. Don't want to take you up all day, but at this point I do want to ask, what's a success look like for you? As a Bree?
Success is almost not achievable because my ideas and thoughts and expectation of success has been so grand since the day I was born that I really have to put success at the back of my mind and be on it for the journey. I always say that the journey is the destination, because every little step that I take is the success and the reward. Every small inch forward or next job or next connection I get, like all the little stuff that people don't see as success, like even being on this podcast, like this is a part of the journey to, be that famous, notable, wonderful actor, that I hope to be one day. But I really have to focus on just loving the journey and just celebrating the journey as success. Like, every day that I get to work as an actor is the best day of my life. I am never working because I'm so fulfilled by my job. And so like that's success. Like, to me, I already have reached success because I'm living my dream and I haven't let it overtake me, that I'm still have this amazing balance. And I owe that a lot to Wilmington too. It's like, this is such a beautiful town where people are so supportive and kind to you and your dreams, even though they're not stepping on you and pushing you down to get somewhere. So I think it's all like I choosing this and leaving, Spectrum to pursue myself, like, is the definition of success I want. But obviously I want to be more successful. Obviously we only want to go to the top. And, I have very big dreams of, the kind of projects I want to work on. And I hope to be able to produce and direct and act in the shows I'm in eventually one day. Like, that would be an ultimate goal, is to be able to do the three top jobs on a film as myself.
Awesome. After looking forward a little bit, to take a look back, if you were to tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? If
I were to tell my younger self something, I would think it would be don't be afraid of being a distraction. Like, don't be afraid of being wonderful and great and gifted in just how you are. Like, don't try to conform yourself to meet other people's definition of success. Is that make your own definition of success, and, you know, also be a great financial planner along the way. And, you know, I do have a financial planner because I think that's such a big part of it, is having your business mind and set and your finances and set as well.
Nice. So Tyler did mention your Instagram. Do you have one or multiple you want to plug so people can follow your journey and all the cool stuff you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. So my main Instagram is just Bree_Okamoto, Okamoto. And that is where I post all of my acting content. That's where I post all my modeling jobs. That's kind of my billboard for the industry. And then additionally, I have another Instagram called What Are You Doing, Wilmywood? It's abbreviated WYD, Wilmywood. And I love that one so much. It is a monthly calendar that I put out where I post every single film, modeling, theatrical, industry event going on in Wilmington. And it's kind of just like a resource for everybody in the industry to get together, to connect more. Because I was always seeing these events after they had happened. And I was like, everyone's doing the coolest thing I've ever seen, and I didn't get invited. You know, marketing, it just takes a lot of time of seeing things. So I made this other Instagram. I love it. And selfishly, I also made it for myself because I want to be the news source of Wilmington. Like, when projects are coming to town, I want people to tell me about it before they tell anybody else. So I was like, if I make this Instagram page, it is putting me in the captain's chair. Like, I can make myself the news source. So it's been really, really fun. It has grown so much. It's like blowing up so quickly. I love seeing how many people are like connecting with it. It only has 400 followers right now, but it had 15,000 monthly views. Wow. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually helping people. So I love that. So give that page a follow if you're in the industry and want to stay connected and meet more like-minded people and get involved more. It's a great page. So that one, and then just my main Instagram one is where I like to keep people connected.
Nice. Perfect. So before we end it, I always ask a super random question. And I have two for you.
Okay.
One, what is one song that you think would be played in hell to torture people?
Oh goodness.
Obviously, there's not actually music playing down there, but
a torturous song. I mean, the song that like tortures me is like Baby Shark. Like,
that's what I said last time.
So annoying. Like, I feel like that's the most like obvious dumb choice to pick. But I mean, like that, or maybe like some like Nails on a Chalkboard, like that on repeat. That would torture me.
That's how you know how old people are. So like your age demographic, you're all saying Baby Shark. I would say
he's not that much older than us.
I'm not, but the song that doesn't end.
Yeah.
That's what like plays through my head.
I forget that
like,
exists.
Actually, now that you're saying that, the song, I changed my answer. The song that would play in hell is Row, Row, Row Your Boat in rounds on repeat. That is what my mother would do to pass the time on a road trip. And she'd be like, all right, girls, let's start singing, harmonize in rounds. I'll take the first chorus and you jump in 4 counts later. And my sister would happily sing along with my mom. And I would just sit there like this is my personal hell. So row, row, row your boat in rounds, harmonized on repeat.
I'm down for it. So because you're in the acting world, I know you said you have a few things coming out.
Yes.
I'll let you shout those out.
Okay, I do want. I'm very excited. Next month in New York City, during New York Fashion Week, I have a project coming out about the life of Alexander McQueen. It's called Provocateur, and it is kind of an art exhibition mixed with visual media mixed with a Broadway performance about the life of Alexander McQueen, who is an incredible fashion designer who really rose to fame in the 90s. More popularly, everyone will probably know him from designing many of Lady Gaga's garments when she was first rising fame in the, the early 2000s and 2010s. So he actually died by suicide maybe 2015-ish so years ago. And so this incredible production company, these artists have come together to create a 13-room exhibition about McQueen's life.
Wow.
So it's going to premiere in New York and then have a tour around the world. And in the very last room you enter, it's a runway, and you put virtual reality glasses on and you're transported back into time into the runway, and our film starts playing. So you see me backstage. I play one of the runway models working with McQueen, and it's this really incredible, like, immersive film experience. And then they're also doing an accompanying off-Broadway show as well. So if you guys are in New York in August, September, October, I'm not sure how long it'll run to, there's an off-Broadway play you can see, or you can go to the exhibition called Provocateur and see me in the film there, which I'm a big fashion girly. I love the runway. I do a lot of modeling on runway as well, and it's just one of the most fun things you could possibly do. So definitely check that out this December in this holiday season. I hope you guys will also watch my new film, The Christmas Rewind. We have not, our distributor is still securing its home for that, so I'll let you guys know where that is out, but that is going to be like the most fun, family-friendly, like comedy movie ever, and I play the character Holly, one of the leads of that one. So I'm very excited for those two to come out and to continue working and continue filming more.
So leads to my real question, which is, what's a movie that you think everybody should watch?
Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't have to be like Schindler's List or Shawshank. It could be anything.
I love Wes Anderson. So I'm going to say The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay, yeah.
Good.
It is so visually exciting and stunning, and it's just a visually beautiful movie. And also, like, all of Wes Anderson films are just so quirky and weird and dark.
Did you see his newest one?
Not yet, but
I'm watching that this week.
I'll have to watch it after I hear your reviews about it. But anything Wes Anderson excites me so much. So Grand Budapest Hotel is something that everyone should watch.
Nice. I never asked you this question. Send it.
I love Christopher Nolan, so pretty much anything by him.
I need a suggestion, sir. Can't say anything. What if I've never heard of him?
So the most recent one that I just watched again is Interstellar, which I don't mind. And then what's the one that he did with, it was based off the life of Nikola Tesla.
Oh, The Prestige? No. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Too.
I think was it? I don't remember. I'm not good with movie names. But yeah, whatever. Find out what that one is, and
I'll find
that
it.
one. Okay.
Something Christopher Nolan.
Something
Cool
Christopher
Nolan films. All of them are pretty cool.
I'm just over
the
here.
one based off of Nikola Tesla. I forget what that one is called, but it might be The Prestige.
Do you have one, Chris?
I'll have a lot.
So that's a whole other
only
episode.
get one.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's the running joke. So I'm going to pick something totally random. I haven't said it before. So 500 Days of Summer.
Oh, okay. Classic.
Yes. I haven't heard of that.
Oh, such a good movie. It's one of those movies, I just like anything that has like time manipulation and you see like different points of views.
I changed mine. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, so good. An OG one. That
Don't
one's
worry,
great.
I've still not seen that.
What?
Oh, no. That's right down your alley, dude.
I worked at Movie Stop and at a movie theater, and there's so many like top 100s I've never
flesh
seen.
Wound.
I know the quotes.
I was going to say, that's
I know
one of
the
the most
quotes.
like
Don't know
quoted
it.
movies.
Gosh.
That's what we were talking about before. Like a lot of these classics are like one of the most like quoted movies, like different things on there.
I know,
I'm not
I'm the
dead
worst.
yet.
Yeah. Not dead yet. Bring out the dead. It's a great one. Now I'm going to have to go watch Monty Python.
Right.
That's what we're here for. But I just want to say thank you for coming on. It was a blast.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun talking with you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, you too.
Reliving down this journey's trails. It's always fun to look back and think about all the little things that got you to where you are.
Yeah. We'll have to have you on again when we have more natural lighting.
Right, yeah. We have the actual
Studio
studio now.
2.0.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll have some more
I think
stuff to
technically
plug.
it's 4.0 at that point.
Yeah, it'll be 4 or 5.0 at that point.
We've been doing this for over 3 years now, so we're like
That projecting upwards. You guys are doing good though.
Yes.
Continue the growth. We love it.
one day we'll have
Better
a
and better.
studio where everything's just already set up, and I can just walk in and go, click.
Yeah, and then you have your own producer who's
Right.
there clicking it for you.
I would love a producer,
I gotta
but I
find
don't
you a
have the
good
money
one.
for it. So
Do you know Rich Cardona?
she's like, I know that name.
No.
No. Okay. He does a lot of stuff in the podcasting world in Wilmington, and he actually has like a full studio with like 3 different sets. So like it's amazing. in
Ooh,
there.
that's cool. I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
So thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you'll share it, like, comment, and subscribe, and check out all of Bree's cool stuff. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.